and welcome back to Ask Abby Dreyer. Last month we talked about how to accept bad feedback, either feedback that you didn't like or feedback that was given badly. So this month we're going to continue on that trend and talk about how to give good feedback. So giving feedback is a challenge because basically you're telling someone that they're doing something wrong. And hopefully your intentions are good. Hopefully you want them to know this so that they can improve and be better. But it's never fun to hear. And because it's never fun to hear, it's never fun to say. So hopefully these 6 things will help you give better feedback and help people be the best versions of themselves. So the first part of giving good feedback is getting clear yourself on why you're giving this feedback. Are you giving this feedback because you want the person to be better, because you see that there's a way that they can improve and improve their lives as a result of changing this behavior? Great. If this is to make sure that they know they were wrong and they need to bask in their wrongness because they're totally wrong, probably not the best feedback to give. If your intentions are not positive for the other person, then you may want to rethink whether or not this feedback is something that you should be giving. If it is for good intentions for them, then it's important to be relevant when you give the feedback. If you're in a business meeting and somebody does something that they deserve some feedback, don't wait 6 weeks and say, oh yeah, that thing 6 weeks ago, by the way, you should have done that differently. Make sure that it's relevant and that they can connect it back to something that they remember doing. And usually more recent is better. Be specific about what they did that they could have done differently or should have done differently. Whether it's tone, word usage, body language, whatever it is that you need to give feedback on, be very specific about what they did that wasn't the best and what they could do differently. Not just, yeah, you did that wrong. Try again. Try to be very specific about that. Have examples of when they may have done it more than once. Because if they say, well, that was just that one time, and then they may ignore it. But if you have examples about how they may have started a trend, then that will be helpful for you. And make it a conversation. If there are one-offs, then, say, okay, great. Then, maybe this is an irrelevant conversation. But if they're truly missing something, be part of that conversation so that they can fully understand what you're trying to impart on them. And follow up, a couple weeks later after they've had time to, think about what you've said and think about whether or not they want to incorporate it or whether they didn't quite understand it and maybe went a different direction with it. Follow up, make sure that the feedback that you've given is actually going to be, put into place and found to be useful, or not. And then, not to give that feedback in the future because they just don't want it. And just remember, even if you want them to do this differently, they get to live their lives and they get to decide whether or not that feedback is relevant to them. So don't take it personally if they don't, but, continue to try to help people be the best versions of themselves with giving good feedback. Hope this was helpful, and we'll talk to you next month.